Speaking of the best 690 motherboards, it's pertinent to mention that all of Intel's 600 series chipsets, including, but not limited to the H610, B660, H670, and of course, the 690, support DDR5 RAM, as well as DDR4 memory in differing variants alongside PCIe Gen 5.0. Even though we're of the humble opinion that neither of these next-gen technologies exhibits noteworthy real-world performance improvements with their relatively older counterparts, even so, AMD has made an aggressive decision to entirely support currently exorbitantly priced DDR5 RAM with their M5 platform. Number 1. Asus ROG Maximus 690 Hero. Any enthusiast-grade motherboard tier list would be incomplete without mentioning the ROG Maximus series from Asus. This is the high-end motherboard category from Asus that falls under the ROG banner, and for the 690 versions, Asus has done away with confusing Roman numerals. Instead, they opted for the name of the chipset and the name of the product. What an ingenious thought! Still, the ROG Maximus 690 lineup of boards is among the best you will ever find on this chipset, and the Hero variant is the one we are particularly interested in. Packing a monstrous 20+1 VRM design with 90 power stages, the Maximus 690 Hero is more than enough for any Alder Lake CPU can throw at it, even at overclocked settings. In fact, we would recommend the Maximus 690 Hero for any potential buyers of the Core i Infinity 12900K and the 12900KF, since those CPU have lots of overclocking potential that can be achieved using this fantastic 690 motherboard. The VRM is also cooled effectively by large heatsinks, so temperature should be perfectly sound. Number 2. Gigabyte 690 Aorus Master. Gigabyte's high-end Aorus motherboards recently have been absolutely fantastic for both platforms, so it is no surprise that the Gigabyte 690 Aorus Master ends up as our pick for the best high-end 690 motherboard. It has an excellent power delivery system that is almost a necessity for the new Alder Lake CPU, but it also has an excellent feature set that is comparable with some of the most expensive 690 motherboards out there. The Aorus Master itself isn't cheap by any stretch of the imagination, but its pricing is not outrageous in view of what it brings to the table. Starting off with the highlight of this board, the extremely overbuilt VRM. It consists of a staggering 22 phases, out of which 19 supply the CPU with 105 of power. This is an insane VRM setup that will almost never be completely utilized, even by a fully overclocked 12900K running 24/7. This VRM design is truly ahead of its time due to the fact that any Alder Lake CPU and even possibly the next upcoming Intel 13th Gen flagship is probably not enough to saturate the VRM of this 690 motherboard. Number 3. MSI MPG Z690 Carbon Wi-Fi. MSI has made some excellent boards over the past few years, especially for the AMD chipsets, but they have not exactly ignored Intel either. MSI MPG series, which stands for MSI Performance Gaming, packs some of the most overbuilt and premium motherboards out there for any chipset, be it Intel or AMD. Continuing this trend for the new Alder Lake platform, we have the MSI MPG Z690 Carbon Wi-Fi, a fantastic high-end motherboard on the Z690 platform that is quite possibly the best overclocking Z690 motherboard on our list. It certainly rivals our two top picks in terms of VRM design and features. Speaking of the power delivery, MSI has hit the nail on the head with an 18+1+1 phase VRM design with 75 power stages, which is excellent for overclocking pretty much any modern CPU you can put in it. Particularly, the Core i Infinity 12900K would be a great match for the 690 motherboard since you can completely max out the overclock on the flagship Alder Lake CPU without taxing the VRM too much. In terms of heat dissipation, MSI has provided massive VRM heatsinks that are actually fin to increase the metal surface area, aiding in dissipation. Number 4. Asus ROG Strix 690-A. Since the Maximus series is not something that everyone can or should buy, Asus has also released several mid-range and entry-level motherboards on the 690 platform. The Asus ROG Strix 690 is one of the more mid-range boards that also has lots of great features and a pretty decent VRM design. The standard ROG series also comes with a choice among DDR5 and DDR4 memory configurations, so be sure to purchase the board that supports the specific memory type that you plan to run. The power delivery system of the Asus ROG Strix 690 is certainly not on the same level as the ones mentioned before, but that does not mean that it is bad by any stretch. Asus has packed a 16+1 phase VRM for the 690A, which is pretty decent by modern standards. This VRM should be capable of overclocking an i7 12700K comfortably, while it should also be able to achieve some degree of overclocking on the NNE 12900K. Number 5. MSI Pro Z690 Wi-Fi. MSI Pro series of motherboards has been synonymous with value for a while now, and the trend carries on with the MSI Pro Z690 motherboards. There are actually 4 different motherboards under the same name, but all 4 of them are the same PCB, differentiated only by the 2 variables of Wi-Fi and DDR generation. In this particular roundup, we recommend the MSI Pro Z690 DDR5 Wi-Fi motherboard, as it still offers a great price-to-performance ratio despite having a higher price than the DDR4 and non-Wi-Fi variants. When we talk about value-oriented motherboards, we have to be reasonable with our expectations when it comes to power delivery and VRM design. The MSI Pro Z690 motherboard packs a decent 8+ 4-phase VRM that will be great for most regular users buying a motherboard in this price bracket. The VRM should be able to handle a Core i5 12600K at its highest overclock, but it should also be able to handle some light overclocking on its Core i7 brother. Number 6. Asus ROG Strix 690i. The market for compact gaming PC has become really popular over the past few years as more and more enthusiasts are jumping ship over to smaller computers. Not only does the small form factor PC save a lot of space on your setup, but it is also easier to carry around from one place to another should you fancy doing so. Consequently, the mini ITX motherboards are becoming better and better as well, and the Asus ROG Strix 690i is an example of one of the best mini ITX motherboards around. The 690i is the answer from Asus for all the small form factor enthusiasts that want to enjoy the features of the full-size 690 motherboards in a smaller package. Starting off with the VRM design and power delivery, there is not a lot to complain about here. Obviously, Asus has downgraded the VRM a little in order to adapt to the size constraints, but the 10+1 phase VRM with 105 amp power stages should not have any major problems overclocking the 12700K or even the 12900K. A sizable fin heatsink also cools the VRM, so temperatures should be reasonable. Number 7. Asus Prime Z690-A. Sure, Z690 is the flagship chipset for the Alder Lake platform, but there are undoubtedly budget-oriented options in this lineup as well. One of them is the Asus Prime Z690-A, a motherboard that aims to provide the basic features you can expect from the Z690 platform at a reasonable price. It is nothing fancy, but it should be perfect if you want a decent value Z690 motherboard to get your Alder Lake system up and running. One of the areas where you definitely compromise when buying a budget motherboard is the power delivery system. Thankfully, Asus has not downgraded the VRM design too much and provided a totally acceptable VRM for the price point. The board has a 16+1 phase VRM design with decent cooling that is provided by large heatsinks that are also finned. One should be able to overclock the Core i5 12600K fairly comfortably on this board. Number 8. Asus TUF Gaming Z690 Plus Wi-Fi D4. To begin with, the TUF Gaming Z690 Plus boasts a 14+1 Dr. MOS driver and MOSFET module power stage design, with all 15 power phases capable of delivering 80 of current to the CPU cores for stable and efficient CPU performance while allowing you to moderately overclock all the late CPUs such as the i7 12700K or NNE 12900K provided you keep the clocks below 5.5 GHz. Asus further fortifies the power delivery with its Digi Plus VRM design, which combines with the 6-layer PCB. Pro Cool eATX, extended ATX 8-pin and 4-pin connectors alongside military-grade TUF power chokes and proprietary capacitors to ultimately deliver ultra-smooth and stabilized power to your Alder Lake CPU, substantially enhancing componential longevity. Adding on, Asus has blessed the TUF Gaming Z690 Plus Wi-Fi D4 with 4 SIM, 2 slots, 3 of which have individual heatsinks to sustain peak SSD performance. Number 9. Gigabyte 690 Aorus Pro. Straight off the bat, the Gigabyte 690 Aorus Pro boasts an ATX form factor, with dimensions being measured at 305x240 form, length x width. Moving on, the 690 Aorus Pro features a 16+2+1 digital VRM power phase design, where 60 stages are tasked with delivering up to 90 of V-core current to the CPU, which equates to 1,440 of total available power, plentiful for even enthusiasts looking to extract every bit of their Alder Lake processor's overclocking potential. The remaining 3 phases are divided into 2 Dr. MOS stages, which provide 70 of auxiliary current for managing the CPU onboard PCIe lanes and built-in memory controller, with the last 60 power phase being directly responsible for running the CPU-integrated GPU. The actual power itself is delivered by Gigabyte's previously spotlighted solid-pin, 24-pin, 8-pin, and 4-pin power connectors. So guys, hope you enjoyed our video and subscribe to the channel. We have also put links to description, make sure you have check it out. We will be right there in next video. Take care, bye.